Hello, hello, everyone. We are live. Hello, welcome to this Facebook Live where we're going to have a bit of a chat about the do's and don'ts of online meetings. Now, this all leads into interviews as well, everyone. Okay, so we've got the incredible Iante with us this morning. Now, she's a coach with some of our workshops that are run at the internship stage. So before we get started and getting into Yante's going to tell us a little bit about herself as well, I just want to talk to everyone about connecting and being able to comment and ask questions. So we have a link. We are live with StreamYard. So what you need to do is you need to click on the StreamYard link, okay, in this, I'll put it in the comments, and from there, you're able to comment and ask questions. Okay, so please click on that. You don't have to do it all the time. If you're coming in multiple times to our lives, you only do it once because you've already given permission. Okay, so we're going to kick off. Iante, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, Carla, thank you so much for inviting me. It's amazing. It's really nice seeing you. It's been a while.
It has been a while, and I know that you're doing a lot of stuff with our internship side of things, with a lot of different workshops to help people grow more in a lot of different areas, and just share with everyone a bit of your story, a bit of who you are, and as a coach and what you're doing.
Yes, thank you so much. It's been an amazing journey working with Industry Connect and MVP Studio, and just on a weekly basis meeting incredible individuals and getting to know them and personally journeying with them. So it's been really, really an amazing journey for me as a coach. So a little bit of a background about me. So I am extremely passionate about communication and confidence for the main reason because in the past it was something that I struggled with myself. And you know how if you've got your own struggles and your own battles, and basically, if I can say, your own things that you see in other people, it becomes personal. So my coaching and what we do with the participants at Industry Connect and MVP Studio is on a personal level, and just seeing them grow and improve and building their confidence as they gain all these skills. So that's basically what I've been doing for the last 3 years, working very closely with individuals wanting to improve their overall communication in the workplace, and also building their confidence in the workplace, being able to go out there, network, and just grow as a person, but also professionally.
Yes, I know you've got that real heart for that. I really see that in you. And when you do communicate with everyone, it comes from your heart. So, you know, it's such an important thing when you're coaching people. And it totally resonates with me, what you said. You know, when you've struggled with something, you want to help others that you see that happening to as well. So, yeah, we're very blessed to have you and honored to have you as a coach at those workshops at the internship stage. So thank you. Now we're just going to get into some do's and don'ts. This is a little I think some people might not even realize some things. We think because we're doing online stuff and, you know, online meetings quite often, that we don't realize what these little tips that we can help people with to when they're having interviews online or online meetings. So kick it off, Iante. Let's get into this and let's help some people and give them some tips of do's and don'ts.
Awesome. Yeah, so I think the first thing I would like to start off with is when you're online and it's two individuals, for example, like me and you.
Yes.
It's quite easy. There are a couple of basic things that throughout, whether you are 2 people online or whether you're in a group of 60, that would always be the same, right? So how about we dive into those, and then we'll go into a little bit more detail as to, if you're in a group, what are some of the things you need to, just a little bit of manner and etiquette to keep in mind.
Sounds
So firstly, background, guys. So being a coach and being a tutor, I always have my whiteboard with me in the back. So that doesn't mean you have to now quickly go to the shop and go buy a whiteboard. I'm just privileged because I stand up and I draw. So if you use Zoom or Microsoft Teams, I would advise use the virtual backgrounds if you can, right? Use the virtual backgrounds. Make sure that your whole body is present. I don't know if you guys have seen, but if you sometimes use your hands and you've got those virtual backgrounds up, your hand disappears or part of your body disappears depending on the angle that you sit in front of the camera. So I love those virtual backgrounds because it gives a professional feeling when people have an online meeting with you. So the obvious things, or you would think it's obvious, Carla, right? But
yes.
a couple of things I've encountered. Guys, laundry. Laundry should not be in the background when you have an online meeting, right? So make sure that you put the laundry away, or if you are drying your laundry, I think you guys catch my drift, right? So the background, what is in your background? It should not be something that is distracting, right? Now, during group sessions where we are like one big family, it's a little bit informal, but the basics still apply. So try using the virtual background, try using a backdrop, or just have a very professional white wall or anything that's not distracting for the person talking to you. So I normally do this during my classes. I will go like, oh, that's a lovely painting you've got on the like on the wall behind you. Tell me about it, because it catches my attention, right? But ideally, you want the person to focus on your face and only your face.
Wonderful.
How about that, Carla? So that's the first thing. Talking about backgrounds, have you had any encounters with embarrassing background images? Or
yes, I've had people with laundry but messy and they're in their bedroom. So that was really interesting. And yeah, just various things. A lot of movement in the background as well. So very distracting, because human thing is to look and then your whole focus goes off the conversation.
Yes.
So really good tip, neutral background. For me here, sitting right here, I'll just show everyone now. I'll just lift so you can see. This is my blind. So see, that's my light. This is my blind I just pulled down. So it's a nice neutral black background that I always use. I find it really good and not distracting.
Good job. Yes. And I think also about talking about distractions, these are different times, right? So sometimes having the kids at home, it is absolutely okay if it is maybe in an environment like what we currently do with the participants, right? So we just love getting to know their kiddies, right? But ideally, you want to try, if there's any animals or if it's possible, to try and join with your camera on only if there's no distractions, right? Unless you in my classes and I go like, oh, what that? Just put it on. I want to see your face. Then it's different, because the facilitator encourages you to switch on your camera, even though we are aware of the fact that there might be distractions. But if it's for an interview, or if it is especially if it's for an interview, try and schedule it at times where you know there'll be no animals, no grandmothers, no husbands, and no children that could cause embarrassing moments for you. So on that note, Carla, like what I did when we just started, we always sometimes do have people around us, and then just maybe muting yourself if you want to tell them like, hey, I'm busy here. There's a lot of people seeing me. So just mute yourself. Make sure that you are muted and that you don't talk out loud while Carla, for example, you were presenting, right? Would have been a little bit rude, me interrupting you to tell the person in the background, I'm on live now, you have to keep quiet.
Yes, that's a good tip. And yes, and I've had that quite a few times as well with some interviews that we hold with background noise and then the talking, and then everyone can hear it. So that's a good tip as well.
Good job. Yes. I think if we have a discussion about maybe if you are attending a training session or there are groups of 20, 30, I mean, sometimes we've got up until 100 in our coaching sessions, right? Is that don't think because there's a lot of people and a lot of faces on the screen that nobody will be able to zoom in and observe what you are doing, right? So don't pick your nose. It sounds obvious, but I've encountered that, right? For that moment, just switch off your camera, go do what you have to do, and come back to the session, right? Watch out for fidgeting too much. Now, when we talk, it is natural to use your hands to make gestures, right? And we want that. But watch out when your camera is on and somebody is presenting or somebody is actually it's giving feedback, that you don't have too many like gestures going on, being on your phone, talking to the guy there in the background, because it is going to be distracting to maybe the group. Something else to mention during group sessions is that if you would like to join in and participate in the conversation and you unmute yourself, what I've experienced is just say, hey, let's say I'm the one presenting. Hey, Ianta, this is Carla speaking. Because we normally have like lots of, little small images and you don't immediately know who is the person talking. So that's quite nice, because if you say, hey, Ianta, this is Carla speaking. I just have a question, please. Then immediately I can go like, hey, Carla, thank you so much. And by that time, Carla will be on the screen indicating that she is the one. If you have it in speaker view, right? So on Zoom, you can have the gallery view or you can have the speaker view. So by that time, the computer will have caught up and Carla's face would be lovely on the screen for me to see that she is the one talking to me.
That is a big one, because I've actually been in big groups before and someone starts talking and this is on Zoom and I'm flicking through seeing who's unmuted, or they just start talking. So that is such a good one. And maybe that's even one I need to take. I'm just because it's a good way to just start the conversation when you're a big group online and say, hi, Yante, Carla's speaking here. Just wanted to touch on that point. So that's a really good tip, because I've felt very frustrated sometimes trying to figure out who's actually talking.
And the thing is, sometimes multiple people will unmute themselves. Now, it's amazing getting people to engage and to participate, right? Especially during my coaching sessions, that makes it so much more enjoyable, right? But something to keep in mind is that there will be people at the same time having their cameras unmuted. So if somebody else beats you to it and they start speaking faster than what you do, just make sure that you mute yourself again and then wait for that person to finish their conversation before you jump back in there. And I think you mentioned something amazing, Carla, just saying that say, hey, this is Carla speaking. I just want to add to the point, or I want to disagree. Or so your first sentence that comes next out of your mouth after identifying who you are, just say, are you agreeing? Are you disagreeing? Do you want to add? Do you want to talk about another topic? Just as an introduction, so that everybody listening in exactly knows you set the tone for whatever's going to come next. I agree. No, I disagree. I just want to add to it. Oh, sorry, Anta, this is a different topic, but if it's okay, just having that interlude, that introduction to what it is that you are going to say.
Because it does take a time too for people to process, to then move into whoever's talking and what they're talking about. So we don't even realize it, but we do. It takes a time. It might take a few seconds just to switch over to a new voice and then engage and process. Oh, they want to talk about that. Oh, they're going more deeper into that. So that's so true, to be able to then, after introducing yourself, saying, hey, Yante, Carla's speaking. I just wanted to touch on that point you spoke about XYZ. And then people go, oh, Carla's talking and she's talking. Oh, right. And then they might have other questions too.
Yes. And then also something else to remember is if you do, we're moving a little bit away here from the camera thing, but just the last point before we get back to the etiquette and the manner is that remember that if you do get an opportunity to speak online, if you've got 5 questions, ask 1 and put 4 in the chat. So even if the chats are not being monitored right now, my multitasking is terrible. So I always tell people, put it in the chat. I'll review it if I can and when I can. And the group is amazing. They will answer if they can. But there are other be sensitive and respectful towards the other people in the room if you're in a big group, and give everybody an opportunity within the time limit to ask their question. So if you've got 4 questions, ask 1. Put the others in a personal message or in the chat for another time. Okay, cool. So just to get back to body language, I was just thinking about it, Carla. Let's talk about the basics, hey? About lightning. Let's talk about lightning. We've covered that. Eye contact. I think it's extremely important. I have gotten this before. Having meetings where I can only see where I can only see the pot, the top, or having the other way around. I'm not going to show you that, but make sure that your face is at least in the center, more or less, in the screen. Also, make sure that your whole body is turned towards the person that you are speaking to. This is body language 101. It just indicates that you're really interested and engaging with the person that you're talking with. Do not have your phone with you if you're on an online meeting. If you do, make sure that it is on silent and that it's far away so that you don't get tempted to pick it up and actually have a look at the message. Because for me, my personal opinion, it's a little bit rude. Because people on the other side want to feel that you are 100% engaging with them. That means keep eye contact on the screen. Watch out for, or not watch out, but don't try and read your emails or try and quickly flick off that message that before you forget, or because people can see when you are not engaging.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Like even right now, so I'm looking at you, I'm listening, and I'm actually typing, and so people can see these tips that you're giving. So I'm actually typing in there as well, but I am actually listening and engaging as well at the same time. But I know with this, like phones everywhere, and it's so easy. You see these things pop up, or yes, mute your phone, mute your phones.
Yes, I've had some crazy experience where people's the phone will start ringing, right? And it creates amazing background music that is sometimes a little bit inappropriate. But in any case, so moving on from that in regards to body language is, guys, when somebody is speaking, whether face-to-face or whether online, nod your head, smile, show because remember, this is the only part that they see of you, sometimes only this, right? Make sure that you are showing them that you are listening, that you are agreeing. Sometimes some of us, when we're really in thought and we like focusing, we might have quite like what?
Yeah.
The person on the other side, and they might read that incorrectly, right? So be wary of smiling, being happy, sitting up straight, which I'm very guilty of. Sitting up straight, engaging, making eye contact with the person speaking.
Nice. Love that. And I wanted to touch on that subject as well, because a lot of people, even when they're recording videos, I'm just it's kind of like the same kind of thing. I'm just going to use my phone here, pretending, because I can't show you really here. But looking down on someone is not a good feeling for the other person. It makes look of control, and it's not. I don't feel like I want to connect with a person that looks down on me. So
no, I totally agree.
Yeah, as far as I was just reverting back to that tip you talked about with the camera angles and how you see just eyes sometimes.
Yes, yes. Hey, Carla, I actually need to tell you a funny story. So normally I do not sit here. And lighting is extremely important, like I've mentioned. And the place I normally sit, my darling husband moved the light when I was away from the office, right? But in any case, so I came back. There's absolutely no light, and in a hurry, I had to move to a different place. So normally my background is even more like, more like no sides. You guys can see the brown around the side. So normally the background, my whiteboard covers the whole of the background, right? So I lost my train of thought. What were you saying there, Carla?
I was just talking about angles of looking down and everything like that. So yeah, the whole thing actually, with your background, with your lighting, the way that you center yourself, the body language, everything like that really, really helps to connect with people.
It does, yes. Well, I think let's see what we've covered. So we've done the distraction, we've covered the background, we've done the basic body language where you need to make eye contact, you have to smile. I think for in my coaching rooms, that's the most, during the workshop, that's the most challenging for me. If I get people, like having that, or like playing with their hair, or so at least show that you agree. And if you don't agree, then tell the person in a chat, right? Get it out of your system and then smile again. And then another thing to mention during in regards to these sessions are that make sure that if you're done talking, right, that you give 3 seconds to give the other person an opportunity to actually speak, right? Because especially online, with 3 seconds before you jump right back in there to ask a second question. So have that little bit of delay, giving that person to think a little bit before you talk again.
Yes, I totally agree with that, because I think we had this conversation before we came live that I might actually touch on it here, the processing. And, you process, you take in what someone said, you process, then you might have something to say. So you need to give that time for someone to actually speak if they so wish to. So, yeah, that's such an important tip there, that 3-second rule kind of thing. That's awesome. So what else are we going to touch on?
So I think something else I think we could also mention is that when it's your turn to speak, right, and you've done your little bits, and now make sure that you end your sentence with saying, okay, Ianta, over to you, or okay, Carla, back to you, so that people know that you're not just taking a very long pause to get your train of thought ready, but you've actually ended. Because I don't know about you, Carla, but those awkward moments of silence where everybody's like, okay, are you going to continue speaking now, or are you done? Should I speak now? And then there's a little bit of a delay, so then people speak at the same time, and it just wastes time unnecessarily. So just to recap, hey, this is Ianta speaking. I just wanted to ask you, I just wanted to add my little opinion as well, Carla, on what you were just saying. You do your little bits and you say, thank you so much, Carla, for this opportunity. Righto, back to you. And that way, Carla knows who I am. She knows what it is that I am going to say, or say something about. That way she also knows, okay, Ianta's done now. So that means that Carla now needs to ask another question or continue with her session.
Yes, I like that. And the tie up as well. Yeah, it's kind of like I see like, you tie it all up, put a little bow on it, and then you hand it back. It's like a little present, handing your present around.
Yes.
And then you go on to the next one.
Yes. No, that's true. And I think everybody needs to be respectful of somebody's time. Just because we're online, the calendar all of a sudden doesn't have more minutes in an hour than it did when you do face-to-face meetings. So I think to be very sensitive, if the meeting is scheduled for 30 minutes, whether both of the individuals want to or not, be wary of the time slot. And if you're already 5 to 10 minutes over the time scheduled and you do have any more questions, don't put the person in a position where they have to go like, oh no, it's okay, go on, ask another question. Rather be wary that the time is over now, the session is over now, and send the questions afterwards to that person. That just also, I was just thinking about that right now. So being respectful, showing that you're interested, taking part. Ideally, switch on or you turn on your camera if you're in a group session. Obviously, if it's a smaller group, it's a lot more easy to manage, because you might be like me and you, 2 people or 3 or 4 people. That's a little bit easier to manage. Now, if you go for an interview, all right, and then obviously you will be extremely nervous. So what you mentioned in the beginning is switch on, use your phone, check that everything is okay before the meeting starts, like 15 minutes before, because that's going to help a little bit with the anxiety levels. I mean, come on, it's terrible enough to have to go for an interview, but so check all of those things before you actually sit down. I had first-hand experience this morning, being rushed, getting set up, and having to move my station where I'm sitting right now.
Yes. So everyone, before we went live, we're just having a little chit chat, Iante and I said, well, this is one thing I'm just going to share with everyone, Iante, what I actually do before I go on live, and I use my phone, everyone. So I'll turn it on to the video, okay, without putting any beautifying app thing over it, because I want to see what my makeup looks like. Does what I'm wearing look good under this light? How's my hair? And these little things just to help you feel more confident when you step into that live, into that meeting, into that interview online. It really, really helps, because then you're putting your best foot forward when you go there, if that makes sense, everyone.
Yes. No, I absolutely agree. And just being less anxious, especially if you're a person that I don't like labeling people, right? But if you feel that you're a little bit more shy, you want to have all those boxes ticked with what we discussed right now, right before the meeting actually starts, so that you do have a little bit more confidence when you actually do start the meeting. Yes,
it's so true. And I don't know if we talked about lighting. We did a little bit, we did take a little bit of lighting.
Yes.
So I kind of I'm just going to show this. I use this lighting because I know that sometimes the lighting in here in where I am isn't very good. So I use one of these, everyone. So there's lots of different ways in which to light. Just have a little play around where in your home or wherever. What looks good? What looks good? And do you need one of these lights, or do you have good light? So that's one of the things I'd like to say as well.
And I think also something maybe we just briefly discussed, but I think a lot of the times, I'm going to try doing that now, is people will be quite comfortable during online meetings, right? So they'll go like down in their seat as if they're lying on their couch, or they will go and they will be like, please remember that the thing, if you won't do it when you're in a meeting, a boardroom, right, at the office, right, remember that please don't do it online as well. So be proud, take up space, smile, look. People want to know that they can engage with you, right? And people also want to feel like you want to engage with them, right? So, so I think basically, and another thing, I'm so guilty of this, but normally I'm the facilitator, so that's okay. But when you give answers, make sure that it's about 30 seconds or so, 30-second answer, and then take that little pause and give the other person an opportunity to respond. So you see how I've been doing that with you, Carla? I would say my little bits, not because I've ran out of ideas, just because I'm wary of the fact that I've been talking quite long, right? So just like take a little pause, give the other person an opportunity. Maybe they also have something that they would like to add.
Yes, no, I'm, and now we're speaking about it. You can actually see it, can't you? You can actually see the pause. If you know, when you pause, I was actually watching us just before as we were pausing and then going. It's like an ebb and flow. It's just very natural.
Yeah, so I normally say it's like having a ball, right? So I'm the one talking, I have the ball. So I have to now decide who am I throwing the ball to, right? So as soon as I ask you a question, like for example, hey Carla, so thank you so much for joining us today. How's your day been? Then I've passed the ball on to you. So you now have the ball. So you can decide what you do with it and who you pass it on to. But just be very clear, especially if there's 2 or 3 people talking at the same time about the same topic. Be very clear to say, okay, Carla, I'm asking you now. Or Susan, I'm asking you now. There's no Susan, guys. I'm just an example.
Yeah.
Make sure that you indicate clearly who is the person that you want the call to action to come from. Right? Because sometimes people could be like, okay, but are you talking to me or are you talking to the person, to any of the other people that's online?
How would you say that works in an interview online? How would you say you would interact in an interview online?
It's extremely important when you do go for a job interview that you know the names of the individuals, that the panel. Let's say, for example, you're being interviewed by more than one person. Then there's nothing wrong to say, hey, sorry, so John, nice to meet you. Linda, nice to meet you. Sorry, I didn't quite catch your name. Or just make sure that you've checked the calendar invite before to see if there's no names, or if like it's not on the screen. Like maybe some people only have the company name as their name on the Zoom meeting or the Microsoft Teams meeting. So then in that case, just say, thank you, lovely meeting you. I didn't catch your name. Sorry, can you, nice to meet you. There's nothing wrong with just asking, like, hey, sorry, can you just repeat your name? Or, and then you know who it is that you're talking with, because if you've got those names throughout the interview, you can say, so just to add to what Bob was saying, or just to emphasize like what I was discussing with Linda a little bit earlier about my past experience. So that way you are connecting, you are creating connectors with each individual, and you're not just talking to them as a panel or as a group, you're actually talking to them as an individual and acknowledging each individual during the interview. Does that make sense, Carla?
Oh, perfect. Yes. The connection, and you have, in that way, it's different when you're face to face. But when you're online, you have to be able to connect, and that's such a great way to connect, to solidify that connection as you communicate with each individual, because they're going to be able to connect better with you when you are talking to them as an individual, when you are answering a question or whatever how that interview goes. But that's a great point.
Like when you're in a boardroom, when you're in a face-to-face meeting, it's very easy to see with whom you're speaking with, because you literally turn your face and your body towards that person. While you're online, I mean, we're all looking at the same camera. There's only one camera. So you're never 100% sure like who's the person you are actually looking at. So yes, I would agree. Make sure that you've got the names. Make sure that you actually address the person when you want to respond. Or, I mean, it's always nice if somebody asks you a question to say, for example, oh no, well, thank you, Carla. I actually thought about it just the other day. Or, oh, Carla, we just spoke about it before we came live. So you mention the person's name, and that way you are connecting with them and they know that you're talking with them.
Yes. Could we just touch on, before we go, I know you're a busy lady, and thank you for your time. I'm looking at this time thing. Just any other tips, as far as like going down that train of thought of interviews, well, what we've spoken about today, is there anything extra that you'd like to add with regard to that interview online?
I think clothing plays a very big role. Normally, because you're online and you think people will only see this part, watch out that maybe for whatever reason you have to stand up during the meeting, right? It rarely happens because you'll have everything with you, but don't wear your pajama pants under a very nice fancy shirt, and then for whatever reason you have to stand up and then you forget that you're not dressed properly, because that has also happened with me, right?
Wow.
Or where you have to go get something and the person would be, oh, it's okay. Oh, yes, quickly go get it. It will be lovely. And then you have to be like, actually, I can't. I'm just going to switch off my camera because I'm not dressed properly. So that's one thing. During an interview, make sure that that you don't. I've mentioned this, right? Don't speak too long. So don't take charge of the interview. Let the hiring manager or the CTO or whoever, the recruiter who the organizer of the meeting, let them take charge. And then what we've mentioned, call them on their name. Another thing that it might be worth mentioning is if you're using a headset or you are using earphones, and sometimes I've seen people will take the mic and bring it to their mouth, right? Now, it is extremely difficult for me, this is my personal opinion, if I speak to somebody online but I can't see their mouth. Now, so much more if you've got a very heavy accent, like me with my South African accent, right? Gives me away every single time. Make sure that the person can see your mouth, because it makes it a little bit easier for them to actually hear. That might sound funny, but to actually hear what it is that you are saying. And if you do have a mic, don't do this with the mic, right? So if you want to bring the mic closer, do it in the side of your face, right? So that you do not cover your mouth.
Yes. And sometimes it's distorted when you bring it up here because it's so close to the you hear that and it's distorted out. So
Yes. And also taking interviews in public places, it all comes down to the part that we spoke about, being distracted. There is absolutely nothing wrong with scheduling an interview, right? And 9 out of 10 times they will schedule it with you. So make sure that you are alone. Make sure that everything we've mentioned. So don't be in a public place when you get an interview. Make sure that your signal is very good, right? It takes up time, and normally the people interviewing you, they're quite busy, and you might just be one of 200 applicants applying for that job. So you want to make it as easy as possible. And guys, have fun. If you're being interviewed, the person wants to see that you're passionate, that you're excited, that you want to work at that company. So make sure that you do your research, and even online, I would make sure that that you throw something in that indicates that you've done your research. Now, we're not focusing on interviews now. That's a session for another day. But make sure that people actually want to interview you. If that makes sense, Carla, hey? Because if you don't look excited to speak with me, then it already sets a negative tone for the interview, even way before you've answered any question.
Yes, totally. And I get that. You can feel it through the camera, people. You can feel it. Thank you for that, Yante, because I know there'll be a few people that watch this replay as well, that these tips will start percolating in them, if that makes sense. I know they will, because I've actually, as you've spoken, like I said, I've put the tips in. So you've given 13 tips. So thank you so much.
That's really amazing. Thank you so much for inviting me for this Facebook Live. And thank you, everybody, for listening. And I am looking forward to the next one.
Wonderful. Thanks so much for your time, Yante. And I'm looking forward to the next one too.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Paula.
Thanks, Yante. Bye.